Okay, we're going to be talking about the organelles of eukaryotic cells. And when we're talking about an organelle, we're talking about specialized structures inside of a eukaryotic cell. Now, I do have a video here that you might want to look at, but when it boils down to it, there are two types of eukaryotic cells. We're either talking about an animal cell or a plant cell. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these structures, these organelles, and please complete your chart as you go along. So we're going to talk a little bit more about cell boundaries at a later date. And the main cell boundary that we are concerned with right now is the cell membrane. The cell membrane acts as a barrier between the inside of the cell, and if you look inside of the cell, there's a lot in there. So the cytoplasm and all of the other organelles, so it serves as a barrier between all of that and the outside environment. It is flexible, it's semi-permeable, and that means that certain things can come in and certain things will go out. And we'll talk more about that later, the semi-permeable nature of the cell membrane. And we'll also talk about osmosis. What you're looking at this point is two very nice human cheek cells. So cheek cells from the inside of the mouth, and they appear purple because of a stain that's used. But you can see that they seem to have a clear outline, and that outline is the cell membrane. Now, the structure of the cell membrane is the same as the membrane that surrounds all of the organelles. So the cell membrane, we will come back to that in more detail later. The next cell boundary is the cell wall, and you're going to find this cell wall not in animal cells, but in plant cells only. And this cell wall lies external to the cell membrane, and it provides extra support for a plant cell. And what it has in it that provides that is that cellulose that we talked about earlier, that carbohydrate, that large carbohydrate, that polysaccharide that we are unable to digest. Now, the cell wall is in plant cells. You're also going to find it in some bacteria and fungi, but the chemical nature of the cell wall is different in all of these. But a lot of times, some people will confuse a fungus as being a plant because it has a cell wall, like a plant has a cell wall. But it's made of different types of materials. So cell walls in plants, we're mostly talking about that cellulose, and in a fungus, we're talking about something called chitin. Now, what you're looking at in this picture, this is a view of a plant cell through a microscope, and you can see how much thicker the cell wall is in comparison to that cell membrane. So it is thicker and it's rigid. It's not flexible like the cell wall is that you will find in plants and in animals. Then we have the cytoplasm. Ooh, I didn't realize when I made this huge that it would get blurry. But the cytoplasm is typically referred to as a clear-like fluid inside of the cell, so it seems to fill up the space inside of the cell. It's not just water. There are substances dissolved inside of it. There's a structure, the cytoskeleton, which helps provide structure inside of the cell. And we'll even learn later on that there are chemical reactions that do occur in the cytoplasm of a cell.